Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, back with you with another new chapter of the heroic Gremory. And sorry, it's been a while since I last, uploaded for this story. Honestly, if you'd let you guys know now, I'm basically already done with that of the scripts for the next few chapters, mainly around that of Izuku gaining his peerage members. Outside of two, who I said who will basically be a part of his peerage during the main timeline of DxD. The only problem is I haven't had time to record for this story in a while now, especially given other stories too. So yeah. But now let's get into this. But first, let's go that of a necessary recap, as Izuku has gained that of two new peerage members, one being La Brava, aka Eika Manami, and the other being Gentle Criminal, otherwise known as Denjiro Tabata, as it has quite a stir within that of, a stir with the devils, to be honest, given that, even though Gentle Criminal is not really much of a threat, he has caused quite a bit of commotion with his, stunts and stealing from that of the supernatural. But Izuku doesn't care, as he sees Gentle with the potential alongside La Brava as well, and he believes in their loyalty in him, as he believes in them. However, this meeting between that of father and son is mainly because the devils fear Izuku's, peerage after all, given their potential and power, and how much each of his peerage members could cause a backlash between the supernatural and themselves. But speaking of his next peerage member, it ended up being a woman by the name of Kathleen Bates, a well-known soldier and mercenary. However, she's a mercenary for the supernatural, as she was basically ordered to take care of a demonic beast by one of the pillar families of the devils. But it cost her almost her entire team, and only she's the only one left, with Izuku and the others coming to basically save her, or rather just help her in general. Not to mention Rias, alongside her peerage, also tagged along, and there she saw the potential of her twin brother, the power that he's able to show, the power of training so hard to reach his true potential, as he gains another new peerage member. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Chapter 8, Birthday Wedding Announcement. As it's been a few days since Kathleen has joined Izuku's peerage as his queen. At first, he was a little worried that somebody as strict and serious as her, somebody who has been a soldier and basically her own boss, would cause quite a bit of a problem between her and Izuku. But ironically, she actually took up pretty well to listening to Izuku, as she may have been a leader of her own company of mercenaries, but she's a soldier first and follows orders after all, even if those orders come from that of a boy turning 15 after all. So Izuku's peerage grows even stronger, especially given her sacred gear, one of the 15 Longinus sacred gears. New Order is part of his peerage, which once again adds more power to that of the devil race. However, it still causes quite a bit of a stir with that of other pillar clans, that Izuku has that of a powerful Longinus sacred gear in his peerage. Speaking of these devils though, within that of a large castle, where lies that of several high-ranking devils. Each of these devils are mainly that of former heads of their respective pillar families. But they don't come from that. They don't just come from that of the, old Satan faction or that of the new Satan faction, but instead are known as the Great King faction, secretly run by that of the first Beal, created by Lucifer and Lilith, Zekrom Beal. Speaking of the man, in that of a large meeting room inside of this dark castle, as entering inside of the halls is that of the very man himself, with that of spiky long black hair, has that of a quite a elderly appearance, but still somewhat handsome in that of his age, with that of a black suit and robe. As many devils in this began to bow their heads for that of the leader of the Great King faction. Within, the man takes his seat saying, "I think it's about time that we begin this meeting. Now then, what should we begin with?" Within, one devil spoke up, as they basically don't look much, but all you can tell that they basically look handsome, with that of green hair, and that's it. Before them saying, "Lord Beale, if I must say, can we talk about that of the Gremory boy?" Within, hearing this, a certain, red-haired woman couldn't help but basically have that of a sullen frown on her face, however her eyes being covered by that of her red bangs. Before then, Zekrom saying, "Continue." Within, the man saying, "Of course, Lord Beale. One of your descendants, Izuku Gremory, the son of Zeoticus and Vanilletta Gremory, has been growing quite the steady assortment of peerage members." Before another, nameless devil spoke up saying, "Agreed, your great king. It's understandable that the youth would basically gain that of powerful peerage members here and there, or mainly just gather that of peerage members to fill that of their own harems. But this boy has gained that of peerage members from that of the strongest in each pantheon, or wanted criminals by that of the supernatural or us." Within, another devil, meaning a female devil, saying, "Not to mention, he's also gained that of a powerful Longinus user, a mercenary at that. How must you believe that this boy may have some plans of his own?" Within, soon, as Zekrom was still listening and taking in each thoughts, before one person, being that of a soft-spoken but somewhat authoritarian voice saying, "How pitiful you all are." Within, hearing this, as seeing that of the same redhead, however, look as she soon raises her face, showing that her face is completely similar to that of Rias, almost looking like she could be that of her twin sister, as this is Rumi's Gremory, the original Gremory created by Lucifer and Lilith. With soon, she's saying, "You talking quite a bit about that of my adorable grandson, my descendant who's basically gone above and beyond anything that the current generation are even capable of. By any chance, are all you just scared because his peerage is basically mimicking that of my other adorable grandson, Surzech's?" And she says this with that of so much spite and also so much wit, as many of them wanted to basically say anything. However, many of them were basically right, that Rumis is literally calling them out, because that's exactly what they're afraid of, as Izuku's peerage is mimicking everything that Surzech's peerage is, what people like to call the monstrous peerage, composed of his knight, Okita Soji, one of the most powerful swordsmen and most renowned within Japan's history, McGregor Malthus, otherwise known as the creator of the Golden Dawn Magic Guild in that of, the United Kingdom, Surtur II, the son of the original Surtur, Bahamut, no, not Final Fantasy Bahamut, the glowing fish of the deep sea, Enku, an ancient Kulin, and Beowulf. Not the original Beowulf, but a descendant of the great hero Beowulf, who took his ancestor's name to honor him, and that with his wife and maid of the Gremory family, Graphia Lucifuge, and you basically have that of another Gremory following in the same footsteps as his older brother, given the current roster of Izuku's peerage after all. His first peerage member being that of Kuroka Taojo, who has quite a bit of potential for that of a Nekushou, and that of Senjutsu, and that of Devil Magic too. His first knight, Namaya, half human, half minotaur, from Japan, who was once that of Vaniletta's knight, now turned into Izuku's knight, and known during that of the Great War as the Butterfly Princess. Meredith Ordington, not only is she also a bastard child of the United Kingdom's royal family, a former mage of the Golden Dawn, but also having another Longinus sacred gear, Elfeka Tyrant, the second most powerful holy sacred gear. Add that with that of his other knight, Tortalia, or as he's originally known as Child of the Fatui, a devil hunter, one who has killed many of our descendants and children. He should be punished for his crimes and put to death. Within, soon, Runis can help but say, if you touch any one of the Gremory family servants, reincarnated or not, you'll be wishing you were dead. As Rumi's demonic power basically wobs off of her, making her crimson red hair basically stand up and flowing up into the air. Within, the devil who said this couldn't help but basically gulp in that of utter fear, feeling the power of the original devil after all. We also need to bring the fact about his other recent additions to his peerage, such as that of Jing Yuan, the lightning general, and the gentlemanly phantom thief and his assistant, gentle criminal, and La Brava. Jing Yuan is considered to be one of the most powerful, was considered to be one of the most powerful humans in this generation. And gentle criminal and La Brava are also considered wanted criminals by not just us, but also the supernatural in general, for stealing so many priceless artifacts and trespassing in certain domains. If multiple pantheons and factions find out that we are harboring them as reincarnated devils, what will? But then, soon, Rumis' power bursts out even more, saying, what did I just say? But then, everybody once again feeling the intense pressure as the room itself begins to shake. Before, a soft-spoken and somewhat also elegant voice saying, Rumi-chan, could you please not? Within, hearing this, as a woman holding that of a large pinkish fan with that of the frills looking like that of flames, as she has that of golden blonde hair, before then opening her eyes, seeing that of the bright sky blue irises, as this being the original Phoenix, Renol Phoenix. Within, Rumi huffing saying, sorry, Rona-chan, but still, these people pissing me off these young ones really do know how to piss me off. Within, Zayatica saying, fair enough, all you need to remember, there's a small majority of the original devils that exist, such as myself. You remember your place. As for you, Runis, remember, they are all entitled to their opinion. Within, soon, she huffing, saying, yeah, but they have no right to basically go against my ideals. Within, soon, Zayatica saying, all of you have valid concerns and worries. But you also forget the devils are basically in a crisis here. While we've gained that of tons of reincarnated devils as foot soldiers and repopulating our numbers through that of other races, pureblood devils are still below. Not to mention the fact that half-bloods are seen to be what we need to replenish our numbers of purity. And yet, many of you refuse to believe in the idea when we need them. Is understandable. I can believe in that of blood purity. Our race is on the decline. Or have you all forgotten that? Within hearing this, many of them couldn't help but feel that of the cold air from that of the original Beetle, before sighing, saying, although it's all understandable on why you all feel like this, our ideals and traditions matter more than our own mere existence. After all, within hearing those words alone feels like that of a complete and total slap in the face, before then saying, other than that of one of my other descendants from another pillar clan, let's also bring in the fact that if it wasn't for that descendant of mine, wouldn't have gotten us an alliance with that of the Norse after all, which would have taken years, possibly even that of decades, for it to even happen. A mere accident is what gained us that of more materials and power. Something that neither the old or new Satans are even capable of doing, but a mere child is. With Rooney's feeling proud. Before then, Zayat is saying, either way, the boy's potential was wasted not being married. That is why I've already continued that of the original plan for him. He may not know this now, but abilities and talents like his should not go to waste. And the perfect time to inform him is tomorrow, is not. Within hearing this, Roomies couldn't help but narrow her eyes again, saying, Zekrom, you always play this game. And you may act like a noble and just leader, like you listen to everyone, but in reality, all you care about is spreading more and more of the Beale's essence and power towards the other pillar clans. As looking at that of her friend, Reno couldn't help but think the same thing, realizing that her own pillar family, having that of a marriage with that of the Gremory, as normally she would be happy for this, but not with the current one, not with the current two being married, as it's basically a waste and doomed for disaster. But she can't say anything due to her basically no longer being in control. Well, not in control publicly, but secretly though. She had it her way. She would prefer it if Izuku and that of one of her current descendants would be married instead. Not Rias and Riser, one of her most recent obnoxious descendants as well. But things have already put in place. All they can do is hope that the current generation doesn't fall under that of the most manipulative schemes, instead of the schemes that they do to try and protect and keep the devil race safe after all. Currently, at that of the Gremory Manor, as Izuku is getting on that of his birthday suit, as it being his birthday tux after all, as it being that of a, darkish red suit with that of a light green tie. Now add that with his hair going back to its original, color being brunette, and his eyes being that of a lavender purple. But then looking at the suit saying, I never thought I looked good in suits, to be honest. With then looking back saying, what do you guys think? As the people being in his room, as it being that of his male peerage members, from that of Tortalia, Danjiro, and also Jing Yuan. Within, Jing Yuan saying, I've never been into suits myself, master, but if I say you don't look any bad, or any different, if you ask my opinion. Within Tortalia saying, don't listen to him, boss, you look absolutely good, trust me. All the women are going to swoon when they see you, buddy. Within, Danjiro saying, as somebody who's a connoisseur of looking and making sure to look his best and fabulous when stealing, I must say it's not bad, but it could use some touches here and there. Maybe a little bit more flair, to be honest. Within hearing this, Izuku couldn't help but have that of a twitching eye saying, what am I doing? Maybe I should miss out on the party. It's not that important. Besides, people are going to be focusing more on Rias than they are on me. Before, Tortalia goes to that of Izuku saying, hey, don't think like that, man. After all, this is your special day, not just your sister's. This is the day you were born. And if you weren't born, none of us would be here. Within, Jing Yuan saying, agreed. Celebrate it. Have some fun. Enjoy yourselves. You deserve it more than anybody. With Danjiro saying, agreed, my master. Please, just enjoy yourself. Have fun. I know certain few ladies who would want to spend some time with you. Within hearing this, Izuku could up a blush saying, I wouldn't say that. Before then, all three of them saying, man, he is so innocently dense. Luckily, the others are also in that of suits and ties as well, with Jing Yuan in that of a traditional, Changsan suit that you would see that of nobles would wear in that of ancient Chinese imperial courts, with that as Tortalia also wearing that of a suit and tie as well, as it's more that of gray and red after, to be honest. And for our gentle, well, of course, a black suit with that of coattails, actually, similar to that of his actual, well, Phantom Thief attire. Even add that with a cane too. Within, soon entering that of in his room as a being Kuroka, wearing that of a beautiful black dress with that of a, well, white flower patterns. And she's saying, "Ah, good, you're ready." Within, Easy saying, "Kuroka, at least knock, would you?" Saying, I know, but we better get going. Rias and our peerage are waiting, and I don't want to keep that of little Shiro-chan's waiting, master." Within, dragging that of her messy, brown-haired master, saying, "Hey, Kuroka, I can walk. As coming out of his room, noticing that of his female peerage members, as Maribel wears that of a pink dress that goes all the way down to that of her, well, knees, with her cherry blonde hair basically made into that of a, well, bun, as she feeling a little bit embarrassed looking at Izuku. Namaya wearing that of a beautiful white dress that shows off all of her curves, actually, quite well. Ironically, she's actually sleeping standing up right now, showing she hasn't had much sleep, to be fair, even though she probably has. Monami, red dress, that also shows quite a bit of her curves too. However, she could care less about Izuku's looks, but more trying to focus more on that of, well, Denjiro. And last but not least, that being that of Kathleen. And instead of wearing a dress, she's actually wearing a suit, but with no tie. With Izuku confused by this, saying, Kathleen, what are you saying? "Oh, sorry, sir, but you know me, I don't prefer wearing dresses. If anything, if I had to, I prefer wearing a suit, actually. Makes it easier if I had to get into a combat situation. Wore a dress once, forced to go into a combat zone, and let's just say I did not get the deposit back onto it after it was ruined." With then Izuku saying, "Okay, yeah, that makes way much sense." As for some reason internally, a small voice within Izuku's head saying, "It's a shame I can't see her in a dress. I bet she would look beautiful in it." Before once again being dragged by Kuroka to meet up with that of his twin sister and her peerage, as his own peerage also follows after as well. A couple minutes later, waiting in that of the opening of the grand ball, is that of Rias alongside that of her peerage, being Akano, Kiba, Shiron. However, well, Gasper still isn't here. Still basically in that of his room due to his shyness, nervousness, and panic attacks, which could act up his sacred gear. With then Rias noticing that of her brother and his peerage, but then saying, "There you are, Izuku. What took you a while?" But then Izuku saying, "Sorry, just wanted to make sure that everything was good. That's all." With Akino saying, "Oh my, you clean up quite well, Izuku." But then getting a little bit embarrassed saying, "Thanks." As he blushing from the compliment. But then, soon, Kiba looking at that of Meredith, with her noticing that of the, well, sword birth user. But then she feeling a little bit uncomfortable with the guy staring at her like that. As Kathleen, noticing this, steps in front of Meredith, so blocking that of Kiba's path, within him noticing this thing, as he soon turns around, not wanting to be called out. Before then, Meredith saying, "Thanks," is Kathleen saying, "Don't mention it, sweetie. And none of this Miss stuff. Just call me Kathleen, or Kat. We're gonna be comrades after all, and friends." But then she's saying, "I guess so." But then Izuku noticing, saying, "So, Gasper isn't here?" With her sighing, saying, "Unfortunately, he's still not entirely used to that of crowds yet, and I don't want to inflate that of his sacred gear and make him feel uncomfortable. It's a real shame. I did want him to spend that of our birthday together, but I guess that can't be helped." But then Izuku, a little bit getting annoyed at this, as he wants Rias to basically take her duties as a king seriously, she needs to help her bishop get over this issue. Out of everybody in his peerage outside of Akino, Gasper is possibly the only person in her peerage with the strongest sacred gear and highest potential. If he was able to take up that of her mutated bishop piece, which was her only mutated evil piece after all. Before then, hearing that of a voice within that of the large ballroom saying, "Thank you all for coming," as this being their father, saying, "Thank you all for coming to celebrate that of my children's 15th birthday. As we celebrate another year, the young generation getting a chance to enjoy a birthday. So please allow me to introduce the birthday girl and boy of the celebration, Rias Gremory and Izuku Gremory." As soon the doors open wide for them, with seeing that of a large, ballroom, where tables are basically everywhere, having that exquisite food as well, with many devils, in all shapes and sizes clapping for Izuku and Rias. Well, mainly a majority of them were clapping for Rias after all. As they walk in, within a few people in the distance couldn't help but talk about that of Rias and her beauty, as she's looking quite the young woman, with some even talking about that of her developing body, of course, already looking like she's going to be an elegant and seductive beauty as that of their mother, with even some saying that her power of destruction may even grow even further and further beyond. However, some begin to talk about that of Izuku, and unlike that of the words of praise, like how for that of Rias, they're words of somewhat worry and spite, within saying, "Look at the Gremory boy. Still not as assuming as always. I'm pretty sure for a devil, he's still quite bland." But then another one saying, "Look at his peerage. Honestly, how can a brat like him even deserve a peerage like that? So much talent and wasted for that of a talentless brat. If he wasn't married into the Gremory family that took pity on them, I would possibly throw the boy up into the curve already for not having the family trait." Before then, one person spoke up saying, "You mean the power of manifest of the Gremory? The person that I know that has that is Izuku. I think you're misconfusing Rias for Izuku, because she doesn't have the Gremory clan trait." Within hearing that, they soon noticed that of a young man with dark skin and silver hair, with many of the nobles feeling somewhat fear of the man, saying, "Sir, my lord, sorry that we get lost. If you're not here to basically celebrate both twins, then you have no right to showing up for a birthday party for both of them." Within, without warning, that's when the two nobles basically walked off, or scampered off in fear. But then the guy couldn't help but smirk to himself, noticing that of the silver earring in his left ear that looks like that of a heart-shaped cross with that of a gemstone in it, with Izuku and Rias alongside their peerages, making it to that of the stage where they see their father and mother alongside that of their older brother Surzeches and their sister-in-law and maid Graphia, with even that of another surprise being that of the currently already still 1-year-old Milicus Gremory, who's happy to see that of his aunt and uncle. But then, soon, Zayak is saying, "Please, give a rousing applause to that of my children, who continue to grow even further beyond." With that, many of the devils begin to clap. However, some do it out of genuine, while some do it out of reluctance, to save face. Especially a certain devil who shows up with that of green hair and that of a fake ass and somewhat unsettling smile. This being Diadora. While a few others shown that actually do care, while one having that of a sarcastic smirk, while him looking at that of Rias, while another, being that of a young woman with that of long blonde hair, couldn't help but also smirk as well, but also in fondness, mainly towards Izuku. as another one also looks at Izuku, but with that of look of pure and utter hunger on her face, licking her lips at the same time. As everybody begins to mingle at that of the party, with Rias and that of her peerage also begin to talk, as Izuku, basically all by himself with that of his peerage, couldn't help but sigh at this before then, to Talia saying, so this is how it's like at your birthday parties. Within, both Kuroka alongside Namaya saying, pretty much, yeah. Within, Izuku saying, everybody's always here for Rias and Rias alone, so it's the reason why I didn't bother coming to my birthday party when I was studying under that of Master Odin. Within, soon somebody spoke up saying, speak of the god and he shall appear. Within, freaking out, noticing that of the perverted all-father Norse god, Odin himself, and Izuku's master saying, master! Within saying, happy birthday, Izuku. Glad I was able to make it. Within, soon somebody spoke up saying, he wouldn't shut up about having to come to your birthday, Izuku, given that we celebrated yours during your time in that of Asgard after all. As the woman who spoke up, being that of a beautiful and quite, seductive redhead wearing that of a beautiful light blue dress. This being the head of Odin's Valkyrie squadron and his current bodyguard, Brunhilde. Within, he's saying, it's good to see you too, Miss Brunhilde. And I'm guessing you had to deal with that of Sensei's antics, since if he was in here the whole time waiting on me, then saying, within, Brunhilde couldn't help but sigh, saying, yes, Lord Odin did get to his antics, basically judging and comparing almost every woman's breast here. Within, Odin saying, come on, you can't blame me. So many wide assortment of lovely ladies. I will admit, some were a little disappointing, but some actually blew my mind, especially 3 women, especially one with that of blonde hair, the other with that of pinkish hair, and then there's that brunette on stage within feeling that of pure and utter killing intent from right beside him, as looking at that of his little protege, as Izuku gives him that of a kind-hearted and caring smile with his eyes closed, but his demonic aura says otherwise, saying, Master, I respect you, I care about you, and I see you as that of another father figure. But if you ever talk about my mother like that again, I'm going to try and kill you myself. Emphasis on try be damn. Within hearing this, even though Odin is literally stronger than Izuku, when it comes to a child overprotecting that of his mother, you fear even when you know you have the advantage. But then Odin saying, I understand, my little protege. I've gone too far. With then saying, also, I hope you enjoy your little birthday present from me. I think you're gonna like it. But then he's saying, your birthday present? Saying, trust me, it's everything that you and I have been working towards. Well, mainly you have been working towards. But then Izuku blinking multiple times before realizing, wait, are you saying you? With Kathleen alongside that of Denjiro and Monami completely confused about what they're talking about. Within, Namaya walks over to the 3 saying, it's a project that Izuku's been working on for literally years now. It's something to help that of his aunt, who was also a pretty good friend of mine back in the day. Now with that at the context, all 3 of them couldn't help but understand now. Within, Odin saying, I can't give it to you right now. It could cause that of a scene, so I'll give it to you that in private. But remember, with Odin actually being serious this time, showing that of the why he was considered that of the wise king of the Aesir gods. Then saying, this holds a lot of power. You'll have basically a lot of control over the devil species. Not to mention, this thing only has that of 2 uses. Only a few drops is needed. After that, they'll wake up. but the vial is not that plenty, so you had to make it count. Do you understand this, Izuku? Within, Izuku feeling quite nervous, as there's only a few times when Odin acts this seriously and not being that of the boob-obsessed god that he is. Within saying, I understand, master. Truly. Within saying, good. Now then, stop moping around and have some fun. Spend some time. Get laid with a girl. You being 15, this is the perfect time for you to lose your V card. Within, soon Brynhildr slaps Odin upside the head saying, please stop encouraging him to basically give into sin. Ironically, since he's literally the only good pure-hearted devil, after all. And I like to keep it that way for Izuku. Within hearing this, Izuku actually face goes completely red hearing that, saying, seriously, I really hate that title. Within, Kuroka saying, why? I think it's adorable. With Namai saying, true to that. With even Jing Yuan basically stroking a non-existent beard saying, agreed. It's a title that you should have with honor, master. Within, Izuku saying, but I'm a devil. I shouldn't have a title called the Young Innocent Devil. Within, Kuroka saying, well, if that's the case, then maybe, as she basically putting her fingers towards Izuku's chest, saying, get rid of it with. Within, soon, both. Marathon couldn't help but say, Kuroka, please, stop. You're making Master feel so uncomfortable right now. Within, even that of Kathleen saying, absolutely. Sometimes going on too strong is way too much. Little cat saying, hey. Within, Izuku couldn't help but feel a little bit thankful, but also still somewhat embarrassed. Before it then, somebody's coming up to that of Izuku saying, you're looking quite well for yourself. Having that of a lot more smiling a lot more than you usually do. But then, Izuku realizing that voice, as his face goes a little bit red, noticing that of a girl with that of black hair and square-shaped glasses. And right beside her is that of two girls. One girl with that of long black hair, with that of square-shaped glasses, and that of a quite beautiful figure, quite that of, seductive figure, while the other being that of a girl with that of curly white hair, with also quite that of the beautiful figure as well. As for the girl in the center, with the bob cut hair and glasses, has a quite modest figure, but however has one hell of an ass. With Izuku somewhat happy, but still quite blushing, saying, it's good to see you, Sona. Glad that you're here. Within, the girl known as Sona can help but adjust her glasses, saying, I'm just glad to see that you're here for once, since you weren't here last year for your party. Within, Izuku saying, sorry, had to focus more on that of my training after all. I want to continue to improve, to be honest. Within saying, I see. Absolutely understandable, but still. That's when the two girls also react and walk up beside that of Sona, as they go to right beside that of Sona, as they all bow. Within, Izuku saying, Tsubaki-chan, I'm glad to see you're doing okay. Within, she's saying, likewise, Lord Izuku. Within, noticing the other girl saying, I'm sorry, I don't think we've met. Within, the girl known as saying, my name is Momo Hanake. I'm a newly reincarnated devil for that of Lady Sona after all. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lord Gremory. Saying, none of this Lord Gremory or Master Gremory. Just call me Izuku. Within, saying, oh, if you say so. Within, Sona saying, always so formal, Izuku. As she couldn't help but be a little bit more casual, saying, it's so like you. Even though you've grown quite a bit, you're still the same boy. Within, Izuku couldn't help but scratch back his head, saying, you've changed quite a bit too, Sona. You're a lot more stricter than usual. Saying, well, we all have to grow up after all. All the same, are you going to be okay? But then Izuku saying, okay with what? But then, soon, Sona blinking, saying, wait, are you don't? But then, before she could say anything, saying, Come on, darling Rias. I came here to spend your birthday with you. Shouldn't you be at least a little bit happy? As on the other side of the ballroom, Izuku couldn't help but sigh, saying, I knew he was here, but to think he would already act up already. It hasn't even been that of 30 minutes yet. With an even Sona saying, no, it has not. On the other side of the ball, with that of Rias and her peerage, is that of Riser alongside that of a few of his peerage members. As Riser, basically being a handsome young man with that of somewhat spiky blonde hair, and also that of blue eyes, like that of his original ancestor, Renol, who had a lot more elegance to her. Riser has a little bit more, snobbish sense of nobility after all. What do you expect from somebody who's basically tainted in that of the current snobbishness of the devil nobility of pure bloods after all? But then Rias saying, and I could care less if you're here or not, to be honest. I honestly would prefer if you weren't here to begin with, Riser. But then Riser couldn't help but laugh, saying, come on now, darling Rias. Don't say that. I can't. After all, this is your special day. And as your future husband, I should be able to spend time with you. As he soon goes over to her and was about to touch that of her hair, before then being grabbed by that of his ear, saying, ow, 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 ow. But then being pinched quite deeply, saying, seriously, Riser, didn't anyone tell you not to touch a girl's hair without permission? Future wife or not, dumbass. With then saying, ow, 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 big sis, will you stop? With then seeing that of the girl as the young woman, or rather I should say, having that of long blonde hair, with that as it's more bleached, and instead of that of the usual bright blue eyes of a phoenix, instead she has more lilac, purple eyes instead, showing different miscolorization. But then she's saying, no, because honestly, I knew I had a reason for coming here outside of just wanting to see that of Rias-chan and Izu-kun. Within, she's saying, happy birthday, Rias-chan. And I would say the same thing to Izu-kun, but I guess he's still quite nervous around crowds as always. Within, Rias saying, it never changes. But I think that's exactly what makes him him. Within, the woman known as Yu saying, oh, quite so. Within, Rias saying, thank you for coming here, though. Ryu Phoenix, as her full name being Ryu Phoenix, or as she prefers, Yu, for short, given that everybody in that of the Phoenix name always has R in the beginning of their name, and she likes to be a little bit more, different. Before still pinching on that of her little brother's ear, then saying, I'll take him away for now. Just enjoy your night and your birthday. You deserve it. Within, soon dragging away that of Riser, saying, big sis, will you stop? Will you stop pulling on my ear? Even with our regeneration, it still hurts. Within saying, then stop acting like a creep and I would stop pulling your ear, dumbass. Within, she meant to saying, and cause I'm looking after you, I can't spend time with that little Izu-kun. Seriously, I hate babysitting you. Within, soon Rias couldn't help but sigh, as Kiba saying, Lady Rias, what was all that about? Saying, oh, don't worry about Kiba. You already know that Riser and I are already engaged. However, I don't want him at all as my husband. I would prefer it if I could choose the person who I fall in love with myself. Nobody else's input. Unfortunately for us in our current generation, young devils like myself and my brother and I had to be forced in arranged marriages. Within, Akino saying, Rias. Within saying, it's fine. I know that there's a way for me to get out of my engagement with Riser. However, Izuku is lucky. He doesn't know that he's actually engaged too. And as soon as she says this, somewhere in out of the distance where Izuku is at, saying, you are out of your fucking mind! As the person who yelled this was that of, Kathleen. alongside that of Manami as well. And if you could listen to, you could also hear Kuroka's as well, with that of the Anon in that of the end of it. Within, Rias realizing, or he finds out now. A few minutes later, while the whole debacle with that of Rias and Riser, as Izuku wanted to basically go and help his twin sister, that's when he soon stopped. By that of a somewhat, a few years older young woman in front of Izuku, as she wears quite that of the elegant and somewhat aristocratic attire. The only thing that basically leaves little to the imagination is that of her purplish, golden dress basically shows off her huge assets of a cleavage, as she has that of quite the, seductive and basically quite beautiful face. However, her eyes say otherwise, as they are quite, leering. Add that with that of her purple hair, with that of, golden blonde highlights, and put in that of a ponytail, as she has that of an air of arrogance and aristocratic, and somewhat of a girl that goes, I'll take what I want, how I want it. As this being the woman who licked her lips, Mirai Valak. Within, Izuku noticing the woman saying, Miss Lady Valak, sorry, you don't mind if you could, I gotta see about my sister, saying, oh, nothing, let her spend some time with that of her fiance, after all. Within, Izuku saying, yeah, I think that's not a good idea, Miss Valak, so could you, and let us spend some time together. After all, you and I plan on being, engaged with one another now. Within, hearing this, a record scratch happened throughout that of all of Izuku's peerage members alongside himself, with him going as Izuku.exe basically went to crash. However, and since he was crashing, that's on that of his behalf, his peerage from that of Kathleen, Manami, and also Kuroka saying, you are out of your fucking mind! With Mirai getting annoyed at this, saying, reincarnated servants don't have the right to talk unless spoken to. Could you girls quiet down now? Within, hearing this, Kathleen saying, oh, I'll quiet down all right within, that's when Jing Yuan, alongside that of Namaya, saying, Kathleen, calm down. This isn't, she's a pure-blooded devil. You act like this, it could look bad on that of Izuku, saying, look bad on Izuku, look at him! As he's basically still rebooting after hearing this, saying, he looks like he's already gone brain dead. Within, Tortalia saying, nah, that's just his usual look when he feels like he's been overwhelmed with overloading information that's not natural. Within, just give it a few more minutes and he should be done rebooting. Before Izuku blinked multiple times, as then saying, huh? As Tortalia saying, now. Within, Izuku frantically embarrassed, saying, I'm so sorry, I have no idea. Wait, what do you mean we're engaged? Within, saying, oh dear Izuku. Within, she pulls out that of a fan out of her ample cleavage. Before it then, basically opens it up, as it almost looked like she's embarrassed, but in reality, she's hiding that of her lips, which she's licking quite bit, seeing how shy and timid he is, saying, after all, we are destined to be together. It's said that we are in arranged marriage by that of your father and mine, as the heiress that of the Valak family, and since you are basically the second son, you'll be marrying into my family. Your family, my family may be that of lowly viscounts, and yours are that of family of dukes. But either way, the Gremory family need to gain that of more prestige after all, and so in my family, and I need that of a proper husband. Normally, any other devil man will work for me, but you, on the other hand. Within, going over to Izuku, is closing her fan before placing the fan on that of his chin, saying, "You are absolutely perfect, even though everybody sees you as that of a waste of space and useless for not having the power of destruction. For me, though, you are absolutely perfect. The perfect, adorable little doll that I can have for myself, that I can play with as I see fit." But then Izuku getting red at this, saying, I'm flattered, but what does the Valley family get out of this by just marrying me off? But then saying, well, just a little bit more prestige, our lineages being connected together, and that's about it. Within, Izuku blinking, saying, that's it. Within, saying, what else is there? Saying, I don't know, maybe like tradings. I know the Valley family are known for that of their production when it comes to that of food and development of crops all across that of the underworld for the devils. The Gremory family won't be having any dipping into that. Within, she's saying, why would we do such a thing? Those are our assets, not the Gremory family's. You're just marrying into. Within, Izuku saying, I'm sorry, but I disagree with this marriage then. Within, hearing that, that's when everybody noticing this couldn't help but be shocked. Within, she's saying, I'm sorry, what did you just say? I disagree with this marriage. If anything, it's completely and utterly ridiculous. So, to gain out of this marriage contract, how about the stipulations? I figure it's the same as my sister's, isn't it? Within, hearing this, as Rias alongside her peerage can help but say, what's going on? Within, Sona saying, Izuku found out that he's getting married and he's not okay with it. Within, Rias saying, wait, he's not? With as soon, Sona saying, no, it doesn't seem like it. Even I was shocked at this too. I figured he would be okay with him being married off to that of Mirai without a fuss, but it seems he does. With Sona somewhat happy by this. Within, Mirai shouting, how dare you ask for a rating game, you little brat? You are my husband. I would refuse such a... Within, soon, Ziotic is saying, actually, in the marriage clause, a rating game is decided if the two do not wish to be with each other. And seeing that my son is imploring this, we can allow this. How about by that of your, 18th birthday, Izuku, saying no. Within, hearing that, everybody's shocked, saying, I want this taken care of now. A rating game in a month, on the exact same day as it is now. Within, hearing this, Zach is saying, it is settled. I'll draw up the contract. I'll basically bring out the details with that of your father. Mirai, do you have anything else to say to my son? I am going to punish you for putting me through this, you little shit. And I expect a lot of gifts for basically putting me through here too from your behalf after I beat you in the rating game. Before then huffing and walking away, alongside that of her peerage, who didn't speak or anything, but from the looks of them, were quite intimidating as well. Within, Izuku saying, I can't believe this is happening. I should have known I was going to get married, but... Within, looking at his father with that of a serious and somewhat annoyed look. Within, Ziotic is saying, oh, right, I probably should have told you that you were getting married. Within, saying, yeah, maybe you should, Dad. Within, Ziotic is saying, Izuku, let's talk about this later. Right now, try to enjoy your party while you can. You'll only be 15 once. Within, the white-suited, red-haired head of the Gremory family walks off, with Vanillana seeing that of her son saying, oh, Izuku, I really did wish you didn't have to find out this way. Before she looks at her hand saying, I wish I told you myself, actually. But then, Izuku couldn't help but sigh at all this, before, as he was about to head to his peerage, before then saying, to think that you actually would grow a backbone at this. What makes you change your mind on basically getting married, little Izu? Within, hearing that voice, as for surprising reasons, Izuku couldn't help but have that of a big smile on his face. However, as for that of Rias and Sona, they can have that of a look of pure and utter annoyance on their face when they see the person that Izuku is smiling at. Within, getting a better look at the guy, as he has that of a quite elegant robes, but all black, with that of one, as the robe has that of a hood on it, showing that of his dark skin, which shows that he's looking like that of an African American actually, with that of silver white hair, short down to that of his ears, that's somewhat spiked with that of spiky bangs, and that of the earring that he has on his left ear, also showing that of his orange amber eyes, and a little bit of facial hair, not that lot, just a little bit of growing in facial hair actually, as within Izuku saying, "Soul!" Within, hugging that of the dark-skinned young man, saying, "I'm surprised that you made it." Within saying, "Hey, wouldn't miss your little birthday party? Hell, when I found out that you weren't even here, I literally left myself." Within, soon Izuku saying, "So glad to see you here." Within, the newest members of that of Izuku's peerage are confused by who this guy is and why Izuku's so happy to see them. Before then, Izuku saying, "Oh, right. Sorry, I'm pretty sure Kathleen, Denjiro, Manami, Jing Yuan, and even you as well, Tortalia, and also Meredith, don't know about him. This is my best friend growing up, after all. Not just with that of Sona as well. This is Sol Barbatos, the heir to that of the Barbatos family." Within, Sol saying, "Well, former heir, actually." Within, Izuku saying, "Huh? Wait, what happened?" Saying, don't worry, it's nothing bad, little guy. Dad stepped down. So, now I'm the actual head of the Barbatos family." Hearing that, Izuku saying, "Oh my god, I'm so happy for you!" Within, saying, "Yep, only that of 17 years old and already head of my own family." Then, soon, so saying, "But that's beside the point. The point is, you're going to be marrying to that uptight, arrogant, and basically greedy-ass princess Mirai, after all." Within, Izuku saying, "Don't remind me. Even though my peerage is strong, I myself is not." Within, Soul saying, "What the hell are you talking about? You train quite a bit. You're strong yourself." Within saying, "I know I am, but I feel like Mirai, she's strong herself, given that she's a Valak after all, and she has the Valak clan trait, perception control. Depending on how she sees things or sees others, it can basically change the perception on how the world sees it as well. One hell of a powerful ass clan trait, and yet it's underutilized as hell. It's the reason on why the Valaks are so damn low in the rankings when it comes to that of pillar families." Then he's saying, "Even so, it's that very reason on why I need an edge." Within, hearing this, Soul can up and say, "If you like, I can give you an edge. But this would be one hell of an edge that will not just be for that of your rating game, but also throughout your entirety of your life. Call it my birthday present for you, Izuku." Within hearing this, that's when Izuku's peerage comes over. Within, Kiroka saying, "Lord Soul, what do you mean?" Within, Namaya saying, "Soul, what kind of birthday present did you give Izuku?" Within, Soul couldn't help but cross his arms, cross that of his chest, before then saying, "You still haven't got familiars yet, right?" Within, he's saying, "Well, I'm waiting for the perfect one. The others have already gained their familiars, but for me, I just haven't found the perfect familiar yet." Saying, "Well, that's the thing. I can get you your familiar. During your 1 month of training for your rating game, there's a certain familiar that I know you can get. I've already prepared the meeting with them. All you need to do is convince them yourself to allow you to be their familiar." Within, Izuku saying, "Huh? Wait, you want me to convince them to be my familiar?" Saying, "Well, duh. I ain't just gonna give you it. You gotta prove yourself, and knowing you, you'll definitely prove yourself worthy." Within, Izuku saying, "That's a lot to put on me, Soul." Saying, "Because I know you got this. You're Izuku Gremory. You're the guy who plans on becoming the world's greatest hero, after all." Within hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but be completely shocked by this. Before then, Soul walks off saying, "Happy birthday, Izuku. Oh, and you too, Rias. Take care. Good luck with your engagement with Riser too." But then, she couldn't help but basically get annoyed at this before sticking her tongue out at Soul. Before then, Izuku saying, "Somebody waiting for me, and I had to convince them to be my familiar. I wonder who they are." But then, pulling out that of his phone, showing that of coordinates, a certain location within that of the human world actually. Before, at the same time, an individual, a being, a pure and utter, who almost feels completely divine, or rather beyond divine, beyond that of human comprehension, a symbol of utter power. As you can't really see them, but around them you can actually feel or hear that of gears turning everywhere, like that of a clock. Before then, Green Eyes began to hum, before then saying, "So, you finally informed him of my identity. I hope you know what you're doing, outsider Soul Barbatus. I hope this Izuku Gremory is worthy to be mine, to make a pact with." As this mysterious individual is the one that is waiting for Izuku. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry that this is a long one. Honestly, I was trying to make this as short as I can, but I kept on adding more and more the details and wanting to give more personality to that of certain characters after all. Not to mention, we're introduced to that of Riser's older sister. Since we never find out on who the hell is the second oldest child of the Phoenix family, outside of Ruvel being the first child and said to already have that of kids himself, who are also unnamed, I decided, just make that of the second child a female. And not only that, make them Yu Takayama, or as everybody from MHA knows her, Mount Lady. So yes, Mount Lady is Riser's older sister, which is fitting if you think about it, to be honest. As for the birthday present that, Odin basically gave that of Izuku, if you guys have noticed throughout the series, I have been developing that of Izuku trying to find a cure for the devil's sleeping disease. And with Odin's help, he's capable of getting that disease, but limited to that of how many people he can use it on though, given the materials are still quite rare when he made it. Not to mention, Odin's going to be cashing in on quite a bit of favors on that of his little, devil-like apprentice after all, given all the favors he had to do to make this thing for him. Not to mention his so-called fiancée, that being Mireille Valak. She's not a carbon copy of that of, Riser, but she is similar. Basically arrogant, entitled, greedy as hell, and sees Izuku as going to be that of her future property, not just husband, after all. And she may not seem much, but you can't judge a book by its cover after all, especially with her clan trait ability, which we'll go into more details about later on. As for that of the familiar that Izuku's get, if you guys remember, that so-called familiar is the trump card that's also going to surpass Issei in this, so Izuku doesn't get left behind by that of the, Breast Dragon Emperor after all. So yeah, you guys just gonna have to wait and see in the next chapter about that of this, individual. So, with all that said, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to get to date my videos uploaded to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, gaming channel, main channel, other channel, Patreon, Cash App, and PayPal. All links in the description below if not too lazy to do so. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later guys, hope you all take care.